What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to talk about this next topic with you because it was pretty highly requested. What we're going to be talking about today is how to get a promotion. So if that is something you're interested in, please stay tuned. If you like what you see, please don't forget to like and subscribe down below. So I have 5 tips for you. And within each one of these tips, I like to ramble on a little bit. So I'm sure I'll have tips within tips for you. Hopefully you take something away from this. So number 1 is by far the most important thing on how to get a promotion. And that's take control of your personal brand. There is nothing more important than your personal brand. Let's not get it twisted that there is things that you can do to repair your personal brand. So if there's some things that I talk about that you aren't necessarily the best with or you haven't been the best with, there is no better time to change than now. Something I've always said to people time and time again is don't wait for a week, a month, a new year to change. Change now. Change quickly, change now, and hold yourself accountable to changing now. But number 1 is just be reliable. That's a big thing that managers want to see. I think that sometimes people think that, them only calling off a handful of times isn't that much. But when you think about it, you're calling off, 5 times in a year. That's every month and a half you're calling off once. And you might have some really good reasons for it, but I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard the saying, it's like the boy that cried wolf. It gets to the point where you've called off so many times and you've heard so many, the manager's heard so many excuses that they're done with the excuses. And even if it is something that is very, very serious going on that you have to deal with, if you called off that many times or maybe potentially lied that many times about why you were calling off, some people just start to not believe you. And for me, whenever I'm hiring someone that is a supervisor or above in my store, or even a full-timer, those are people that collect benefits for my company. And supervisors also are key holders in my store, so they're opening and closing my building at times. I cannot risk not having my business opening, I cannot risk having a full-timer that calls off every single week or even every single month, because in some way, shape, or form, that impacts other employees, that hurts the employee experience, that hurts the manager's experience, believe it or not, and it hurts turnover. And that's the biggest thing. Like, we want people that are going to stay in position for a long period of time, regardless of what position they are. So I think that if we promote people that aren't necessarily deserving of it, in my personal opinion, that makes other people feel like mediocrity is accepted in your workplace. And yeah, so be reliable. Now, number 2, within taking control of your personal brand is your attitude. A lot of times people come into work and they just have a negative attitude, If they don't agree with something a manager says, they're the first ones to jump up and create a hostile work environment. Or if something was done to them that they didn't agree with, there's hostility that comes from that person. Another thing could be that, you just think that your life is the worst life in the entire world. And you come into work and you wear it on your face, you wear it on your sleeve. And sometimes that passes off onto other coworkers of yours. People have said to me in the past that just because there's all this, I have a bad attitude and I hate my life and blah, 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 doesn't mean that I'm going to show that to the customers I'm helping, the clients I'm helping, so on and so forth. It doesn't matter. If you get promoted to a full-time position, supervisor position, you're in charge of employees. You're in charge of sometimes representing me and my brand and what I stand for, and making sure that the people around me are also bought into my message. So that's the thing to keep in mind, that if you have a negative attitude or you're a hostile employer contributing to a hostile work environment, you will 100% not get promoted under me. Nobody likes a negative Nancy. Honestly, I would get rid of someone that is a negative employee or find them a different position before I would get rid of an employee that had bad work performance. Bad work performance I can fix. Negative attitude, that's up to that person to fix. And if they have that in them and that willpower to want to fix that and try to become happier. There's been plenty of times, I've worked in my company for 11 years. There's been plenty of times that things have gone on in my personal life. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that there's necessarily a work-life balance. I think that's work-life satisfaction. I think they work hand in hand with each other. Just make sure that I don't treat other people with disrespect in those moments, or not even just disrespect. Like, I try really hard not to rub my negative attitude off on those other people or take it out on other people. Number 2 within how to get a promotion is work ethic. Work ethic is something that only you control. You define what your work ethic looks like. I remember working at KFC years ago, and I didn't have the best work ethic. There was people around me that called off once a month just to hang out with friends and didn't find something to do on their downtime and stuff like that. And I remember whenever my work ethic changed, and it was just because I got a little bit of recognition from one of my managers because I was really quick with packing a customer's meals. But then I started finding things to do in my downtime, like scrubbing the tables. And then I just started making sure I came to work every single day. Your work ethic is what gets you somewhere, And I learned that first and foremost from KFC. And then whenever I went into the career that I'm at right now, I remember my first day being in my position. I was ready to close down shop, 2 hours before we were ready to close, because I was finding something to do and making sure that everything I touched was perfect. Maybe not necessarily perfect, but I tried really, really hard to make sure that I did the right thing at all times. Always going to be downtime in any position that you have, and I think it's so important to find something to do, find something to occupy your time. So that's maybe cross-training into a different department or a different job, finding out how they do things, because I think in some way, shape, or form that's going to help you in your career or maybe in your position that you have right now. Cleaning, organizing, just making sure that you find something to do instead of being on your cell phone. I think that it's really easy to get on your cell phone. Trust me, I do it. Like, I'll scroll through Instagram and I'll scroll through Facebook or whatever, and you're just entertaining your time with something that's not necessarily going to accomplish anything. Like, if I spend 20 minutes on Facebook, I can't even remember half the things that I saw on Facebook. So it's so important to do something with your time that's actually going to benefit the company that you're working for. So the second part of work ethic is integrity. So there's so many things that go into integrity, but basically what I mean is just do the right thing whenever no one is watching, no one is looking, no one is around, and it will get you really far. That could be theft, that could be, time theft, it could be finding things to do, doing your projects, activities, whatever it is, offering certain things to customers that you don't necessarily believe in. All of those things go hand in hand with doing the right thing whenever no one's looking. So do the right thing, trust me. If someone trusts you and they feel like you're extremely loyal, then you'll go far wherever you go. The third thing is loyalty. I don't have any other way to say this, but just saying, do not talk shit. Don't talk shit about your boss, about your coworkers. Your boss isn't perfect, and neither is your coworkers, and you're not going to always agree with what they have to say, but I guarantee that you don't even know 25% about what that person is going through on a personal level and also on a professional level. If you talk shit on any type of manager, whether that's a manager that you report directly to, or another manager, just keep in mind that at some point you might work with that person, and they might be able to heavily influence whether you get a promotion or not. So don't do it. Trust me. If you have something to say, go directly to that manager or go to another manager and make sure that you articulate yourself in a respectful way. Number 4, so take on extra projects. I want to be clear whenever I say take on extra projects, it does not mean always extra pay. Sometimes you have to take those extra projects and it may add on an extra hour or 2 onto your day, but it will get you where you want to be in the long haul. Trust me whenever I say that. I have taken on extra projects in every single one of my positions, and I've also learned the next position up, not because I thought it was going to get me a promotion, but it's because I don't like to stay stagnant on a personal level or on a professional level. So I think that the more that I expand my mind and expand myself, it's going to benefit me in some way, shape, or form. Just a couple examples of things that you could do as far as extra projects is you could train some new coworkers that come into your department or into your location. And my recommendation to you is to train them on things that you really excel at. Or if your coworker isn't doing something that's supposed to do whenever it comes to from a policy standpoint, or things that your manager expects them to do, my recommendation is jump in and coach that person. And when you think about a lot of times you're like, okay, well, how the heck is my manager going to know that I'm doing those things? Trust me, whenever I always find out that someone had coached someone or someone was mentoring another employee, because I go and I talk to those employees about it. I ask those questions like, so tell me about your experience here. How is your training going? Do you feel good about your onboarding? And those conversations and those employees that have really impacted that new employee's experience always come to light in those conversations. So never ever worry about that stuff, because at some point that's going to get brought up. Thing as far as extra projects, you could also ask them what they need done. So go with your manager, ask them what they need done. Is there anything specific that you think that I can do to improve the location in some way, shape, or form? Is there anything that you can't get around to that you could delegate to me? Is another way you could go about that. And then my 5th tip is, if you get turned down for any position, how you react is everything. If you are negative and you start talking shit, like I said earlier, I think that could hurt you in the long haul. And I have totally been that person. I've gotten turned down for multiple positions, and I'm a lot more open about it now than what I used to be. But every single time that I have been turned down for those positions, it's made me better. It's made me so much better, because I asked for feedback. I asked what I could do to improve. And even if it felt like it was so out of reach, that feedback that they gave me, I worked endlessly on making sure that I improved those things. This way they regretted not hiring me. Do not act negatively. Do not come into work every single day like it's the end of the world and nothing worse has ever happened to you and you don't want to be there. Don't do it. Like, don't walk around like there's a chip on your shoulder, and just move forward. I always like to say to people, fail forward and fail fast. I want you to take that in for a second. Fail forward and fail fast. It's okay to fail. It's not necessarily a failure if you improve in some way, shape, or form. I've gotten to where I am because of all the failures. And, I think my favorite traits of myself were not whenever I was at my peak. Whenever I was at my peak, I always was like a cocky woman, in all honesty, and extremely arrogant. Whenever I was in my valleys, that's whenever I really learned the most about myself. All right, guys, so that is all that I have for you today. I hope that you took something away from this. If you liked what you saw or what you heard, please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you guys have any additional tips that people can take something away from, don't forget to put it into the comments below. I will talk to you guys soon.